This is the Cubs Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Chicago Cubs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Postcast here on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. My name is Joe George. You find me on all social media platforms at Joe George Radio. The Cubs lose 9-4 to the Seattle Mariners. Tough day at the ballpark for the pitching staff. Again, 7 home runs in the last 2 games the Chicago Cubs have given up. And the first game of this loss to the Mariners was ugly, pretty much from most of the team, honestly. A couple guys stood out with performances, but overall, pretty bad day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. We're going to talk about today's game. We're going to talk about what we saw from some of the guys on the staff in the bullpen. And then we're going to talk about Sammy Sosa returning to the Chicago Cubs. Because honestly, today's game wasn't good. So we're going to talk about something positive for today's show. So honestly, look, 7 home runs in the last 2 days is not good enough, obviously, from your pitching staff. Now, you think about what this team has done over the last month or so and change, it's obviously been very good from the bullpen. Ryan Pressly gave up 2 earned runs in this game for the first time since he gave up, the 8 earned runs quite a while ago for this team. So the bullpen had been pretty good. But this is not with the last 2 days. That's just the reality of it. Even the runs you had weren't, you're not getting contributions from everyone. They're kind of coming in bunches from this team right now. It's just the pitching was just not good enough. And a couple questions right off the bat from the chat. Why did Matthew Boyd, not get the third time through the order? Well, statistically, he's not good. And that's clearly a strategy that Craig Counsell was going to roll with in this game, to say like they're not going to face the Mariners the third time through the order. Only had 76 pitches when he left the game. But then obviously Pressly, Cabrera, all these guys start giving up just nukes to the Seattle Mariners. Cal Raleigh hits 2 home runs in this game. Major League Baseball's lead leader in home runs. You got 2 home runs from Mitch Garver in this game. Just a lot of home runs from the opposing team. That's not what the Cubs have been doing this year. And in the last 2 days, again, it's not the end of the world, I would say. I think, people's panic meters are going to be all over the place with where this team is at. But the home runs are the concern, obviously, in this one. That you don't want to see. You can't give up that many home runs. You're walking guys. Guys are getting on base. And then they're getting big-time hits. And that's where the Cubs are still kind of lacking from the most part this season. You look at offensively what they did in this game, right? You've got a couple guys with solid performances. Kyle Tucker, 2 for 3 with a walk. Michael Busch, 3 hits on the day. Ian Happ with a home run. Reese McGuire with a home run. But you got an 0 for 8 staring at you right in the eyes with Pete Crow-Armstrong and Dansby Swanson. That's where I think the Cubs lineup is coming up the most short at times. Obviously not PCA on like a daily basis. He's obviously had much more good than bad, but just not seeing, sometimes he has these days where he's very frustrated with himself. You see the frustration. 3 pop-outs in this game from PCA obviously are not great. So just a bad day at the plate for PCA. A lot of the same from Dansby Swanson. Just not a lot of stuff you're seeing from the Cubs that is very positive over the last, week and change for this team. Question here in the chat, why do they keep pitching to Cal Raleigh? Yeah, that's a great question. There are some obvious guys that can do some damage in the Mariners lineup around Cal Raleigh, but that's someone that, letting him hit 2 home runs against you, clutch home runs, he's the best home run hitter in baseball right now. I said on yesterday's show, like if I could do anything, I would love for Cal Raleigh to be a member of the Cubs. He can hit from both sides, and really like adding him to this lineup would be a fantastic thing to see. Clearly he can hit at Wrigley Field. That's not an issue, but you want to see more from this team still. And look, it's the first game of a series. It's the first time they've lost back-to-back games since either it was June 8th and June 9th or June 9th and June 10th. So it's been a while since you lost back-to-back games. You got 2 more games in the series that you can win. You can beat the Mariners. They're a good team. They're probably very much on the same level, I would say, as the Cubs right now as a big picture unit from top to bottom. I think the Cubs' strengths are some of the Mariners' weaknesses and vice versa. But just a disappointing start to this series. See that many home runs. And this is where I think the lineup has to do a much better job of, carrying this team. I think there has been some unrealistic set from both the bullpen and from the rotation at times. The Cubs lineup, with if the ball's gonna be flying out like this now at Wrigley all of a sudden, they have to start carrying this team in a different way. You need to see more on a consistent basis from this lineup, maybe bigger numbers, but just not a great game for the Cubs all around. Good to see Kyle Tucker get on base a couple times. I saw already like a not clutch. He had one opportunity with a guy on base and he grounded out. Like relax. Just relax a little bit. The ball's not flying out. I know he has one home run in like the last month, but it's going to come with Kyle Tucker in bunches. It's no reason to panic again. I'll say it again. I'll be defending this guy basically until he's not on the Cubs. They need to collectively start putting the ball back in play as a team more consistently and getting back to what they did earlier this season, which is stealing base walks. Sorry if my camera's causing issue. My computer looks like it's going so slow right now. I can't tell what it looks like for you guys if you're watching on YouTube. But this team they need to get back to what was and not what has been of recent. And that is what the offense is missing. They need to get back to what it was. You can't rely on the home run ball all the time. And they're relying on that too much still at this point. A lot of comments here in the YouTube chat about Matt Shaw. I think what we're seeing from my perspective is a young player that the book has been written on now that he's back up. He came back up, had some early success, and then it seems like it's a little bit of a struggle again. This is typical for a rookie. We all know that. We saw it with PCA. We've seen it with the Cubs rookies. You go back to you think about like Chris Bryant, these guys. But yeah, I think he looks a little lost, I think is a fair way to put it. Now, you have to counter that. So how do you figure that out for Matt Shaw? Not like this stretches on him, but just need to get him back going a little bit too. If you do think about the big picture of the Cubs, if Matt Shaw doesn't get going, if the catcher position doesn't get going again, those are the positions you can identify at the trade deadline besides pitching that you can add to. I think that's where you can kind of hone in on right now. So I think Matt Shaw just needs to make another adjustment. Like it was a good adjustment back up here. They kind of got the book back on him and then go back. If he can find another adjustment, get this thing going again for him. Because we were seeing the power to the opposite side, all those doubles he had when he was coming up. But a lot of 2-strike counts early for him. They're attacking him very aggressively. Just got to get this thing rolling for him again too. So just look, again, this is a bad day for the Cubs. Like it was a bad game. Yes, Michael Busch had 3 hits. Yes, Kyle Tucker got on 3 times. Yes, Ian Happ hit a home run, but you lost 9-4 because you've given up 7 home runs in the last 2 days. The ball's flying out at Wrigley. It's just not flying out as frequently for the Cubs in these last 2 games. So we're going to take a break. And honestly, this game was so bad. We're going to talk about, Cabrera and Presley here on the other side. And then we're just going to talk about the great thing that happened today, that for the first time in 21 years since he left the Cubs, Sammy Sosa out of nowhere returned to this team. So that's the positive. And that's what we're going to talk about the rest of the show and wanting to see for a very long time. I'm 33 years old. It's been 21 years since Sammy was at Wrigley. So we're going to talk about that next when we get back here on the Locked on Cubs postcast on the Locked on Cubs YouTube channel. Today's episode is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. If you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1-ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better-for-you unsaturated fats to help in keeping you feeling fuller longer. We go with the no-shell variety in our house. We actually get the box of like the 8 little snack size packets that you can get. They're my go-to. Always bring one with me to work. So I have one if I get hungry. So get snacking, get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing. They got 1 game left. And every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. I'm a believer. I'm going to take the Indiana Pacers up plus 7.5 and straight up to win the NBA championship this year. I believe in Tyrese Halliburton, even with this calf injury that he has going on right now. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet if it wins. You'll get the $200 in bonus bets if it wins. So make every moment more with FanDuel, sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, very quickly here on Cabrera. He can go. That's the nicest way I'll put it. I don't think anything he's ever really done with the Cubs has been like highlight worthy. I feel like he gets hit pretty hard, pretty consistently when he's out there, and we've seen that the last couple days. The Cubs have done a really good job, I think, in winning in the margins, finding guys that can come in here and get outs in the bullpen. I don't think Cabrera is one of those guys. It was good effort, couple good performances, but overall, not a fan. And I don't think he needs to be a member of the Cubs, to be honest, much longer. I'd like to see them bring up someone else from the minors, especially as guys get healthy, even if it's just waiting until Shota returns in hopefully a week's time. I believe he's going to pitch today in Iowa, or at least this weekend. So hopefully Shota will be back in the next week or so. And then I'd like to see Cabrera get his walking papers at this point. Just not a believer in him. There's no confidence from me. To be honest, like it kind of feels like a white flag a little bit when he goes into the game. Just don't trust him. I'm fine with leaving him in there at the end just because you don't want to waste a bullpen arm. But I just don't trust the guy to go out there. So that's one of my biggest takeaways from the game is like he can go. Ryan Pressly, again, gives up the runs today. Hasn't given up runs in quite a long time since that big performance. I'm not there with Ryan Pressly anywhere close to it, to be honest. But just not a good day overall for the bullpen. Not a good series for the bullpen. We saw Thielbar give up 2 runs in this one as well, and that's a guy you've obviously been able to rely on pretty consistently throughout this season. It's been excellent, honestly. It's been probably one of the better moves that they've made this year, bringing Thielbar in. But for the most part, we're just not seeing great performances from the pitching in the bullpen in the last 2 days, and really need them to go get back on track. At least it's not giving up so much damage. You don't need to be perfect like you were, because they basically were perfect. This has been a lot of damage over the last 2 days given up by the Cubs pitching staff. So got to get a lot less of that if the Cubs are going to be trying to keep this division lead where it's at and honestly, hopefully they can grow it at some point here as well. You got the Cardinals coming up after this series. Got to keep growing this thing as much as you can. All right, let's talk about the other stuff. Let's just talk about the fun stuff from today. The game was bad. Let's talk about the final 7 minutes of the show here. Talk about Sammy Sosa. Sammy Sosa returns to Wrigley Field for the first time in 21 years. Now, look, I think this was supposed to be a big surprise that got leaked out by Bob Nightingale of USA Today. I think they were trying to keep this hush-hush and kind of surprise fans, but it gets reported. We see Sammy. He's on the radio broadcast. He's on the television broadcast. Honestly, I'm just so glad that this finally happened. It feels like we've been waiting, and we have been, obviously, 21 years. I think it's so stupid that it's taken this long to see Sammy come back and be at Wrigley. I understand that there was lying, that there was some steroid use involved. For me, like, I don't care. People like, we talk about the Cubs now, and it's, Kyle Tucker, and will you pay him? Will you pay PCA? Like, a lot of frustrations with the ownership group about like what they will and won't do from a financial perspective. But to me, this has always been like the cardinal sin of the Chicago Cubs, that they didn't bring him back sooner, that you had to wait all this time. They put out this terrible 30 for 30, in which Sammy still never really admitted anything. He came back this year at CubsCon, still didn't really admit anything. And it's just they just decided it was over. Like it was just over. Like it was just finally time to bring back Sammy. And it's just about time. It's about time they did something like this, because like I look at Sammy Sosa, and he's the reason why I can be a frustrated Cubs fan. He's the reason why I care so much about this team. Think back to the home run chase. Like I'm I'm 6 years old when this is happening. Like, think back to, like, running out on the field after 9/11 and like all these things, just running out on the field. Like the way he would do it was so electric. It was just so much fun to watch. But just to see him come back, it's just about time. It's about time to see the Cubs ownership group do that. I would like them to do the other things we want them to do as an owner, which is pay players, expend a lot of money, not have Jason Hayward be the most expensive contract that the Cubs have ever given out. But he's Sammy. Like, he's the reason why my generation of fans are fans. But people in the comment, he cheated. I don't care. Everyone cheated. Everyone cheated in any way, shape, or form. It was part of baseball. It's just the way it was. And yeah, I would prefer him to be totally clean and a Hall of Famer and all those things. But like, it doesn't matter to me. Like, he is a Cub player through and through. And it's just about time that they finally got their heads out of their butts and got him back at Wrigley Field where he belongs. And just allow fans who do want to celebrate him. Because if you don't want to, I guess I get it. But it's just, it was just time. It was time to do this. And I'm glad it happened. And I would love for this to be a sign of things to come from the Cubs ownership group, of just how their mentality is changing with bringing Sammy back. And I know it's not correlated to spending more money, but I would like it to be. I would like to see the Cubs spend a lot more money and go out there and act like the Dodgers and some of these big teams, that are out there. But it just, they don't do that. And to me, again, this has been my frustration for the Cubs, is they got you the World Series, but you just left out someone that has been such a big part of like why people like me are Cubs fans. And they're just not, they finally rectified that today. And I'm glad that they finally did it. All right. That will do it for us today. Bad day at the ballpark for the Cubs. No other way to put it. A lot of home runs given up in the last 2 days. Got to stop that. Got to get this thing going and take 2 out of 3 versus the Mariner before you start to play these St. Louis Cardinals. That will do it for us. Thank you for watching. We'll be back tomorrow for another day game and show edition of the Locked On Cubs postcast. We will talk to you tomorrow if my computer works and I can close this thing.